Hey, and welcome to the Ladies in Biz podcast, where every week we have guests that are amazing female entrepreneurs. Find out how they got started and grew their business. Discover how their story can help you grow your business. Thanks for tuning in today. Here is your host, Penny Redmond.
Hello, Ladies in Biz listeners. Today, our guest is Lisa Aiken, and we have a lot to talk about. Lisa is a designer, and she's got all kinds of information she's going to share with us today about being a designer, how she got to become a designer, and she's had an interesting story. So good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Penny. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you decided to come and find me. I've been bugging Lisa for a month. Have I not, Lisa?
Yes, you have, Penny.
So anyway, Lisa and I worked together on some projects, and so I was really hoping that she'd be able to come on Ladies in Biz, because all her years of expertise is certainly can give us a lot of information that will be really helpful. Not only if you're a designer, but also in any other kind of business. She's been in business for a while, so we'll certainly can hear what she has to say. So Lisa, I'm going to read off your bio just loosely because I know you so well. I just wanted to just kind of say it in a nice, friendly manner. Okay. So Lisa, you've been in business since 2001, and I know you were in the corporate world before, and we'll talk about that later. But really, you started in 2001, and it's when you opened your first store, and it was in the Bloor West Village in the Toronto area. I remember going in it, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was an experience. It was unique. It was different than what we had seen in stores before. There were fountains in there. The displays were amazing. It was just really, really breathtaking. It's one of those people's stores that, as a retailer at that time, we would go in and we would be awestruck by how beautiful the displays were. And then you were in that business, you were at the store for over 5 years. Then I know you had a major flood, and which made you rethink the whole idea about your business. And at that time, Lisa was, retailing was great, but it wasn't really her love. Her love was definitely in design. And luckily, the store gave her a platform to really develop a big clientele base that allowed her to start her design company, which was Terra Firma Design, as it is today. And I'm just going to read a couple of things in here. It's well known. Right now, your design firm is well known, and it's known for renovations throughout the city and buildings and existing condos and terraces and gardens. And your focus has been more on terraces lately, and we'll talk more about that. So your first terrace was in 2006, which you completed in Yorkville, and which is really cool to hear that it's been photographed and featured in magazines across Canada and in Europe. And it's about to become a part of a prestigious hardcover book featuring some of the finest designs internationally. Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And anyway, so that's pretty much it. And so I think probably people are pretty anxious to hear about how did you get started even thinking about being an entrepreneur, because you were in the corporate world before.
It was all by chance. I had no clue about retail. I'd never owned a store. I'd never even worked a cash register. And I was off because I had injured my arm, and I thought, I want to do something different. I had a great job. People thought I was crazy. I was crazy, but as it turned out, everything happens for a reason. And I really believe that. And this reason totally changed me and my life. And I was always an avid gardener. I loved doing outdoors. And the store was mostly about outside. As you say, there were great fountains, huge big fountains with water running. It was deafening how loud all the noise was from the fountains. And I just knew that there was something more I could do. And the odd thing about it is that people would come in and say, oh, could you come to my house and make my backyard look like this? And that's how it started. And I had a very wonderful friend in the design industry who only did interior. And I had a lot of interior designers come to me and say, can you do the outside of my clients. So this happened to be in Yorkville on a terrace. And I made a couple of phone calls, and I really liked this one gentleman. And he was so young. I thought, oh my God, like how old can he be? How does he possibly even know what he's doing? Turns out after all these years, we're still working together. He's my major guy. And we brought onto the market something that nobody had ever used before. And it was a Brazilian hardwood called Ipe. And Ipe, I was really happy about this because the qualities of it mean that I will never ever, and have never had anybody say to me, oh, my wood's rotten. Oh, it needs too much maintenance. Oh, it needs this or that. This is an amazing product. And that's what we use today. And that's kind of how it started. And I'm really shocked for the first one that I ever did. That's the one that got all this publicity.
And it's still getting publicity, which is amazing.
It is amazing. And I've been lucky enough, to work with some amazing photographers. And I've had most of my work photographed, which is really lovely. It doesn't do a lot, except it shows people that, you do, have a flair, and this is your design. And even after all these years, I've never met another designer that features or specializes in exteriors. There's landscapers that, lay stone and things like that. But it's exciting because now we're adding all kinds of other aspects to it. This year I'm doing a terrace all made of turf, which is amazing because the industry has become so advanced because of all of the condos that are being built in Toronto, as you well know. Yeah. And it's booming like crazy. So I got a little bit bored of doing sort of the same thing. People would always ask for it. But now I have an opportunity to say, listen, we can lay porcelain tiles, no maintenance, nothing. Turf, which for a city of cement, a turf really adds a beautiful, beautiful dimension. You can view it from the inside. It's like, wow, do you have a grass on your balcony? It looks that real.
Oh, it does. It does. I know.
Yeah, it does.
You know that my daughter Kelly has it at her backyard, which we worked on last weekend. And really to get it ready for the spring, it meant sweeping it. It was really tough.
You have to use a rake. You should use a rake, actually. There's a special rake that you can.
Actually, for this time, you're right. There's a gentle rake that you can use, but really there's a very light bristle broom will do the exact same thing as well.
Yeah, that's great.
It's not too dirty, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So after that, so now I know one of the things that we talk about a lot on Ladies in Biz, and a lot of our guests talk about niche marketing, because I know you talked about your history and you went into terraces, but really you do interiors as well. So right. I mean, and I know you've got a lot of projects on the go right now that are interiors. But I'm just wondering, can you explain to us, for the niche marketing, did it not scare you about then just focusing on terraces?
Well, that's a really great question, because I learned very quickly when I opened my store, which was in September, and I was doing just amazing. And then, the winter months started to come, and I started to recognize what retail was all about. And I thought, oh boy, I have to bring some interior stuff in here, because not everybody wants to buy, garden things in the winter. Lots of people were buying gifts, but you're not buying a big major fountain or, something really big for your garden at that time of year. So I switched gears, and the more I got to see what was out there, the more I loved it, and the more I integrated it very much with the outdoor. And I think that's one of the things that made the store kind of unique, is mixing the two. And I still do it today, is I mix a lot of interior things outside. And so I also was lucky in that my partner was a contractor, and he's a very good contractor and still is. And he taught me a lot about the industry. So, sometimes he says to me, you act more like a general contractor than you do a designer. And that's probably not a good thing, but it's great to be able to understand how things work and how they should be. And I absolutely love it. I really, really love it. Sometimes I love it more than doing the terraces, but that will always be my heart.
Well, one of the things is, I think that is a difference is, and I guess there is a defined difference between just a decorator and a designer. And one of the things, if you're a decorator, yes, you can go out and get beautiful things to make your home beautiful, but it's not structural. And you can actually do structural. In fact, I'm just going to read off to people. We were working on Instagram with Lisa not too long ago. And I asked her to just give me some information on what she does on terraces. So do you mind if I read this off? Because I'm going, you were on a roll that day, and I'm going, okay, that's enough, that's enough. But in order to do a project like that, it takes so much, you have to have so many different skills, and just to be able to make things look pretty. Like, I mean, you can make anything look pretty. I really do believe that. But it takes you so many other skills to make it look that way. So just for instance, when we were talking about terraces, and you would use these same kind of ideas even in the home, is that you have to know you can provide 2D and 3D floor plans that are required, especially when you're working with condos, right, Lisa? I think that you need a lot of plans for especially doing terraces.
Well, one of the things I of course learned early on, and if you've ever purchased a condo, when you have a terrace, it's still a community asset. So you don't own it. You're only paying for the luxury of its exclusive use. So you need to tell the condo board, and most of the condo boards are made up of other people that live in the building. So they don't necessarily have building skills or engineering skills. So you have to provide proof that whatever you're going to do is legal, is stable. It's not allowed, there's nothing allowed to be adhered or fastened, nailed in, screwed in, bolted in to the building. So you've got to understand the logistics. For instance, if you were to build a pergola, and we do a lot of these, almost every single terrace has a pergola with a retractable awning. As soon as you put that retractable awning on, it becomes a sailboat, and it can fly. And e-pay is, so something I love about e-pay, it's so heavy. So there you have to take into consideration the weight. So we have to have an architect who works with us on a regular basis, come up with all of these measurements and the drawings to show people on the condo board, this is what we're going to do, and yes, it is safe. Everybody knows, oh, there's a railing height. If you put decking in and framing in, it can't go beyond that height. And that was a rule made up many, many years ago because people were afraid that a child would step up and could then fall over the railing, which is, yes, but I see a lot of places actually that they put planters right in front of a railing, and somebody could actually step up. And I know it's dangerous, and they shouldn't do it. But these are all the things that, yes, you definitely need to know. And then, of course, someone living in this property has called you for help because they really have a hard time visualizing what it's going to look like. And I think that's a really beautiful selling feature, and it's a way for people to say, oh, okay, now I get what you're talking about. Oh, I love that, but could we put another one over there? Could we do this over here? I really love to cook, so therefore I want a kitchen outside of my kitchen. Or we'd like to lounge and the sun sets over there. Can we do lounging over there? So again, you are adding walls, you are adding structures, especially for privacy. Very much privacy. I just noticed I actually just went to a new condo that's being built in the Bloor West Village area, and I've done some of the ones at Old Mill, and they're beautiful buildings, really, really nice. There's not a lot of privacy, and you're like a speck of bread amongst a flock of birds, so to speak. So you have to come up with some pretty good ideas on how to still make it look beautiful and elegant, but give the people that live there a bit of privacy so that they can enjoy it without feeling like they're on display. And now we're doing so many things with gas, beautiful outdoor fire pits. And again, you have to have all of the appropriate trades that know what they're doing. I hear homeowners saying, oh, I can put the gas myself. I'm like, no, We need a capacitor. Oh, you should hear what
Liability.
you should hear what people wanted to.
That is so funny. Oh, the other thing I put down here, what we put in here was custom lighting as well, because that becomes so, the use of that space at night is so important.
You know, how I approach exterior design is very similar to how I approach interior design. And lighting is key in either space. It's one of the most important things. And that's why we do lighting designs. And when you do renovations, you've got to show where all the lighting's going to be, where all of the fixtures, what units hold, what fixtures, what size lights to use. Do they shine up? Do they shine down? You know, the last thing you want to do is put spotlights on a terrace and people can't even see because it's shining in their eyes. Or put it on the base of the deck and then they cover them all up with furniture. I mean, it's the whole dynamic that you have to be logical about and understand. And
I think the other things that were listed on here is things that maybe people wouldn't traditionally think about, like even the installation of not only pots, but also on how to get them watered. If there's a watering system that can be done.
I have
so
a
you don't
lot
have to worry about it.
Sorry. Yes, I have a lot of people that say to me, "Oh, I want a lot of plants and planters," and I said, "Okay, well, how are you going to look after those?" "Oh, I have a watering can." No, that's not going to work. So when you're on a terrace, the wind factor itself is 10 times worse than the sun. It will dry everything out to the point where your product won't last. You really need to have an irrigation system, unless you're literally going to have a couple of very small pots. And most people that call me are wanting, you know, large scale, either trees or bushes or quite a few planters, because that's one of the most beautiful things on a terrace that really make it feel beautiful, just like in a garden. You're missing the garden part, so takes place of the garden. So yeah, you need an irrigation system, and you have to have containers. We build a lot of containers, so we have custom liners built with drains in them and drainage, and they're insulated to keep things from dying. It's not inexpensive. It's actually quite costly to do all of this. So we want you
You're right. Yeah,
do it
so it's
right.
easy, no maintenance, right?
Exactly. Just enjoy. And, you know, you can just add annuals and even perennials in, and, you know, just continue to, just like you have a garden, you can have things growing all year long.
Yeah, the nice thing too about terraces, as well as that when you're doing it like that, is that they're also pretty even in the winter time. So even though you might not be out there in the winter, at least when you look out, they look beautiful.
Oh, I always suggest to people, if they have a really lovely view, why not put bushes, trees, yews outside, so that when you look out in the winter, you have all that beautiful greenery. The lighting is all done with remote control, and you can have the light shining. You could put Christmas lights on them. You can decorate them with balls. You can do anything you want to do, so that you're keeping that same theme that anyone with a garden could do. And that's what a lot of people do, right? In the garden, I always bring Christmas trees in and put them throughout my garden at Christmas time and light them and decorate them. So you don't want to feel like there isn't anything you can't do on a terrace that you can do in a garden, because there isn't.
So Lisa, with all the information that you know now today, if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I want to become an interior designer or do terraces," most likely interior design would be their first choice.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much more knowledge for a specialty for terraces. But what would you think they should do at the very beginning? What is the starting point?
You know, someone gave me a really great piece of advice when I was thinking about doing this. I knew I had a passion for it because I had already experienced it on certain levels. People always would ask me to come and help them. And so I think that that's something, no matter what your job is, you have to love it. You have to be passionate about it. And when you are an entrepreneur, you're going to have hard times, you're going to have good times, you're going to have times where It's not as easy as you thought, but if you're passionate about it, it really gets you through. I would say if you had the opportunity to work with someone and just to see what it's like. People think it's very glamorous. So, you work, you work, you work, you work. I work 6 days a week. I work evenings. I work Sundays because my clients also have to work. So it's not like, oh, I just work 9 to 5. No. And it could take you, for a lot of people, it takes them a long time to decide about things. And I think it's really important to recognize, do you have that skill? Are you really good at it? Or is it just something you figure, oh, I could do this?
So it's not only the skill of it. So one thing, let's face it, the world has changed because we see all these designer shows on TV, and really they're out there so they can teach you how to do things. And yes, there are elements you can learn from them, but they are TV shows and they do make it look really glamorous. And it's far from being glamorous. For any of us that have ever gone through any kind of renovations or anything like that, it is the least glamorous things we've ever done in our lives. Right. But I think also if you were brand new, it would be really thinking of going into this industry. Yes, you can go for education, and certainly there's great schools as well. But I think your advice about definitely working with a designer would be imperative, like to understand what you're really getting into. Because you require so many skills, not just the design skills, and that is hard to teach. At least I always think it is. It's hard to teach someone to have a certain level of style, but the other skills can be taught.
Yes, I think those are basics. I would call those basics. What really makes you successful is, do you have a flair for this? Do you know what to do? Anyone can learn how to do a drawing or how to do electrical plan, but are you ready to work with people? A huge part of this business is being able to work with people who, like you say, are going through something that is very scary. It's very costly. They don't know you. They don't know the contractor. They don't know the trades. And it's really up to you to lead them down the path, but do it in a certain way and be very sure, because a lot of mistakes are made in this industry. It's crazy. There's just so many aspects of it that you can't control. And so you've got to be ready for that. And I think that you have to be a people person. Let's face it, you're working a lot with people.
Yeah, and you're providing a service as well as design. Right?
Absolutely. And there's nothing more rewarding when you finish a job and you look around and you go, wow, this looks amazing. But your client's also going, oh, wow, we love what you did. I just went back to a client's, they were getting a coffee table done, and I finished their project last winter. The homeowner, they hugged me and they're like, oh my God, we love our house so much. And that's what makes it really special. And that, if you feel that you can do that, you can learn that, and that's what you want, then go for it. Go for it. There's a lot of designers out there, and there are certain ones that obviously have done very, very well and are famous, but it's true. It's not at all like it is on TV. When you see those shows, 20 people have worked on that project, not just one person, which is you.
And it takes a long time to do it too. That's what I'm always surprised by the length of time it takes, because it takes time to find the right things. It takes time to make sure that customer is going to be happy with what you're working on. So your communication skills have to be over and beyond.
Yes, you have to have a lot of patience, and you have to, sometimes you pick out all of these beautiful tiles for the client's jobs, and everyone's so excited. And then by the time you get your permits, and by the time they get to actually doing the tiling, those tiles aren't available anymore. You got to start all over again. And you're like, oh, now what do I do? Because I've had that in my head. This is what we've based this on. You always have to be prepared for those things that pop up that you have no control over. You can't let it, destroy you. You're the person that has to pick up the pieces and go, that's okay, because there's all new tiles out there. And now look at this. Let's use this. And it always seems to work out. But you have to be prepared for all of these bumps in the road.
So far we say, number one, you've got to love what you're doing. You've got to have great taste, let's face it, and understand and be able to communicate to your customers what you're thinking. And I'm sure the least favorite of most designers is the bookkeeping.
Oh boy. Yeah. You have to, I mean, there's some great new tools out there that people can use, but you would at least need some level of assistance with bookkeeping for, even if it's QuickBooks or, that is a really big part of the business, and you have to file your HST, and you have to, it's a big part of the business, and none of us like to do it. And when your brain is focused on design, one of the things I know, I don't even like pricing things. I'm like, I just want to do the job. I just want to get into this. I'm so excited about it. But this is all part of, growing your business is being able to know how to price things, how to value yourself. You have to understand that even if you charge hourly, you can't charge for a full day to find fabric for a pillow. Like, you'll be fired in an instant. You have to start understanding the value of what you do and how long it should take you. And that's all part of your paperwork. And yeah, it's not fun. Hire someone to do it.
Yeah, I think so. We go over that also on the show quite often about when you're running a business and you're so busy, when you should hire people, especially on tasks that you feel as though you don't really do it particularly well. It's not what you love. And I must tell you too, I find that when I've worked in the design, but not in interior design like you, but it's really hard to get your head to switch from being creative to being more looking at your numbers. And it's just a whole different mindset. So it's like you have to shift. The other thing is too, when you're hiring employees, you've got to take care of them. Everything that has to be done properly by the standards what the government has set when you have an employee. So there is so much to know. So it's so much better to hire someone that really already does that and loves what they're doing, because that's what their strength is instead. Now, the other thing is too that I see you working on a lot is your connections, not only with your client base, but also with all your contractors. Like, I marvel at how much time you're not only on the phone with your clients, but also the contractors.
Oh, yes. I think it's really important to have a good relationship with them. And a good contractor will be really helpful. It'll be your best friend, and they'll call on you and say, we're at a stage here where I need you to help me with this. And you don't just pick fabrics and toilets. I mean, there's everything from trim and crown molding, and those things have to be done at a certain time. When do you order the stone for the bench and the threshold? You know that you have to have that ready before the tiler can start. So there's a process that goes on that you have to be aware of. And like I say, a really good contractor will help you and respect your role. And I think that your role is just as important.
But it takes you time to do that too. So if you're a new person, you're going to have to spend a lot more time. Like you've got a great list of people that you've worked with over the years and can trust and know that they're the best quality workers. But as a new person, it would take a great deal, even more time to start finding all those tradespeople that are going to work well with you.
Yes, absolutely. That's part of A, being a good designer, or B, being a good contractor, because when people hire you, they hire all the people that work with you. And if you have a good team, then that person benefits from all of those people. Oh, this person's a great tiler. Oh, he's a really good plumber. Oh, this person really knows how to lay floor. I mean, you can't just walk into a situation as a designer and say, yeah, I can do a renovation. Really? Who's going to do it? These are really, and it takes time. It takes years to develop those relationships, especially in this kind of industry. So I think that's a really important aspect of it.
Yeah. So, and then what would be the next thing that you would think should be raised in this case for someone that's just starting out in their business?
Excuse me. I've never. I haven't given that. That's a really good question. I haven't given that a lot of thought. I think, you find your niche like I did, and sometimes it will just naturally take you to somewhere else. Recognize that. I think that you get yourself lined up with someone that maybe you admire or you'd want to learn from, and maybe approach them and say, you know, I've gone to school, I could help your business. Can I shadow you? Can I work with you? I think being a retailer really gave me a great platform, and I learned about I was a buyer for a large wholesale home decor company, as you well know.
Mhm.
Penny and I have hung out in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So I think that gives you a really good edge. Wherever you can start, wherever you can get knowledge, don't just think you need to go to school and then jump into being something. I think that there are steps that help you become a really great designer.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we've really covered it off. Communication, is definitely, I think it has to be number one, or number two, beyond being able to have a good design sense as well.
You know, Penny, that I think you're right. And I think that what happens with people, they're human. Sometimes people have a very clear sense of what they want their space to look like. That could be good or that could be bad. So if it's good, then it's like, great, this is going to be so easy. And if you're looking at the space and you know that what they want is just not going to work, you have to understand and learn how to approach these people and how not to offend them and how to, you know, gently say, I love your idea, but in this instance, you know, would you consider this or consider that? I hear a lot of people saying that sometimes designers just go, oh no, everything's got to go, we start from scratch. I actually love incorporating things of people and their lives and their experiences and lives. It makes for an interesting design.
Yeah, it tells a story. It tells a story of their life, right? That's why I always love homes that are like that, because
Yeah.
they're not cookie cutter and you can see part of their lives and what they've lived. So one of the other things I was thinking about is, and we had talked about this in the past, is finding your ideal customer or understanding what your ideal customer. And I always thought it was really cool how you really knew your customer base. And because of that, then that made things go along faster.
You know, it's funny, but you actually made me look at
It
who
was
my
me.
yeah, you made me look at, well, who is your customer? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I started thinking about it. And oddly enough, for terraces, not for interiors, but for terraces, it was always a man in the couple that called. And then of course, when I went there, both would be there, and that's how we would, and they were of a certain age group and they were of a certain financial level which they wanted to spend on their project, which is very important because you don't want to be, and I always say this to people, I need to know what you want to spend because I don't want to try and talk you into doing something that you financially can't do, because that would be disappointing to you and to me. So I think, you know, doing that process was really a great lesson. And, you know, it also took me to another level where I have to recognize who my client is. And I found this year, for some odd reason, I've had a lot of very young couples with very small terraces call me, and I've gone to see them just out of being respectful. And I've, you know, talked to them and I've given them ideas, and I've given them ideas for free, which I don't normally do, but I did it because I knew they didn't have enough money to hire me. And I knew that they weren't my client. And so it's important, and it's, you know, you scratch your head and you go, should I have done that? But, you know, you have to understand, you have to know, you have to make money. This is your lifestyle. This is your job, and you need to make money at it, and you need to be good at it. In order to do that, you have to know what kind of family, what kind of person is really going to be able to hire you. And so that was such a great lesson, actually, that you taught.
Well, the lesson, I'm just going to explain it a little bit more about what you're talking about, the lesson. What Lisa and I did was we were looking at her Instagram, and we wanted to be able to really figure out a stronger marketing strategy. And so one of the first places we always start with is looking at your ideal customer. And so Lisa actually knows her ideal customer. She was able to outline it very quickly. And I just got more into the psychographics. I got it into deeper, but you already knew who your client base was, the basic. But in order to be able to know what to really do well in marketing and how to reach out to the perfect client base, we had to have a better understanding of the psychographics. And that's what we got into. And that's why your certainly your Instagram is probably now a little bit more directed to your ideal client.
Yes, and by focusing on that, I was able to reach out to the whole psychological aspect of digital marketing, and that is, yes, where do those people shop? What do they like to do? What do they like to see? Where do they like to eat? Where are they going to go so they can find me? And so I thought that was really, really interesting. And that goes back to you talking about, or us talking about, when to hire somebody. And I think if you're focused on your job, you need to know all aspects of it. You can't rely on hiring somebody and just have them do everything for you. That's not the way it should be done. But you should hire somebody to help you. And in this market of digital marketing and advertising the way it is and growing your business, I don't know anyone that shouldn't hire a digital marketing person such as yourself. And
yeah, thank you. I could always use work. One of the things, you're right, I think, Lisa, where I've seen, well, we know that it's made a big difference since you now have a marketing strategy for your business. Yeah. And before you did Instagram, you were already on there, so you were kind of familiar with it. But there is a big difference between doing Instagram as a hobby and then really driving your business for it. And really understanding it's all about engagement and talking to that client base and reaching out. And sometimes it's so frustrating because it doesn't look like you're getting business from it, but you know that you're building brand awareness. You know you're getting people back to your website. And Lisa, by the way, ended up, I encourage you all to go and take a look at her website because it is absolutely stunningly beautiful. All the pictures and everything really give people ideas as well, and understand what your style is and what you work and how you work as well. But I think for marketing strategy, it's going to grow your business for sure, one way or the other, and it all takes time. It's never overnight. If everything was so easy overnight, I would probably never be sleeping because there'd be so many businesses that need it all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in this day and age, you've got to keep up. You can't just hope someone's going to knock on your door and say, can you do some work for me? You have to work all year long to get, even that one client that is right for you.
Yeah, and it's brand awareness. And I mean, even for you, being in I know we've talked about this as well before, about being in a magazine and how it's great for brand awareness. And I've heard this from many other people that are kind of in the service industries or different businesses that were featured in magazines, and they don't always get a ton of business from those.
No, you don't. But it just, when people see that you've been in it, it reassures them that you know what you're doing, and that's fine. Like if that's
they might come at you, or a possible new client might come at you or find you in a different way, but by saying, hey, I'm in this magazine, or you can look at my Instagram portfolio or all the pictures. It just reconfirms that you are a legitimate company.
Right.
And,
right.
And they get to know you. For Instagram, they get to know you personally, really, because you show and express your personality, your kindness, thoughtfulness in Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. And you've taught me that, I see a lot of people and they're not doing the right thing. And I'm like, oh no, you're not doing that right. You're not going to get any business. So it's really great to feel like, what you're doing is you're promoting yourself day after day after day. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah, because you are your brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you think you're just going to get referrals constantly from clients, it doesn't work that way. It's funny thing about design. People get this fabulous job from their designer. They don't want to share that. They don't want their best friend to have the same thing or the same person. So you're on your own, and you better learn how to promote yourself. And there's a lot of competition out there.
And well, one good thing, because you've done corporate jobs as well. So, I mean, I think, didn't you do, was it Sick Kids? It was one of the hospitals that you worked on a project.
It was Mount Sinai. I did the
Mount Sinai.
center. Yes, I did the entire 12th floor. And again, it was just, it would have been a different process, but I just happened to be lucky enough to be asked to do this without going through the regular channels. And I did it and I loved it. And, you don't have to have done, something like that 30 times before you get recognized. I think if you do a good job in anything that you do in design, you'll be lucky enough that someone says, oh, I already know they'll do a great job. And there are many, many people out there. Again, I knew people in the industry that would set me right as far as using fabrics and about, contract materials and about things for healthcare. And I did happen to sell healthcare furniture way back when, and I did a study and a course on it in the States. So I did know what I was doing, but these opportunities come up and you've got to grab them. And you've got to say, I can do this. Be confident. Just be confident and just do it.
It's interesting how you mentioned about asking suppliers, because suppliers are an amazing resource many times, right?
Again, it's the people you surround yourself with. Are you working with someone that takes great care and understands, for instance, an upholsterer that you use? Does this person understand about the fabrics and how it should look and how it's going to behave? And do you have someone that's then going to care for that fabric for clients afterwards? And do you have a team to do this and this and that? It's just nonstop. And so you want to really try and make it seamless for your client. So I always make a point of, after renovation, I include a team of people to go in and clean their house. Everything, the windows, because when you're doing a renovation, that dust, that drywall dust, it's almost impossible to get rid of. It takes 4 or 5, 6 cleaning. Anyways, you have to put yourself in the client's shoes often, like in anything, and say, how would I feel about this? How would I like coming to this beautiful home with all my furniture I just took out of storage because I hadn't been living in the house for 7 months? You come and it's filthy dirty. It's just little things like this that really show that you care.
Yeah, those final things.
Yeah.
The little special touches make a big difference.
Absolutely.
So, Lisa, one of the things that I always ask all our guests at the end of the time is if you have one message that you would like to give to all the women out there that are in business, what would that message be?
Oh, that's hard.
No, it isn't.
Okay. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Do it.
Actually, that is a good, actually, it doesn't have to be a long message. It could be just do it. Like if you want it, I think you would be a great person to just say that is just do it, because you did do it. You were in an environment or worked in a corporate world that was not related to what you're doing at all today.
At all.
But you knew that you had an ability to be able to design, you had that taste level, and you opened up a retail store. You didn't even know anything about retailing. I mean, for a retailer like me, I'm going, oh my God, crazy. Which I think it was an advantage, because you ended up creating that beautiful, magnificent store that was actually wasn't just a store. You went in and it was just an experience. You were a little bit ahead of your time when it came to that store.
Penny, that's funny, because I was really shocked about how people reacted to it. People would come in, they sit down, they tell me their whole life stories and why they needed a gift to buy for somebody. I'm like, wow, is this normal? Like, I've never done this before. I tell you, retail's not easy. It's not easy. It's a really challenging but rewarding part of a career. But
Well, it was a great stepping stone for you, because it brought you to where your true love was. And if you hadn't done that, then you wouldn't be where you are today, right?
And all those people that came in and had stories and bought things from me, those became my customers later, because I you know, I was on a learning curve, so I spent the time with them and I talked to them and I showed them things. And, you know, a lot of people don't do that in retail because they're busy trying to make a livelihood, and I didn't know any better. So anyways, it turned out that was a good thing.
Well, anyway, well, we are going to have to do a close on the show, but I wanted to let people know for sure how they can connect with you and how they can reach out, and if they have any questions or anything like that. I know you're a very kind person, so if someone was just starting out their design and they just wanted to, you know, just sort of have a 10-minute or 15-minute call with you, just ask you some questions, you'd be delighted to help them out. So what's the best way of them connecting with you?
Well, I think to email me. To just email me, Lisa at terrafirmadesign.ca. Before you just call me out of the blue, I want you to go and look at my website, see what I do, so you can ask me relevant questions. And I would be happy to talk to somebody that would be seriously interested. I took a young woman last year for 3 days and brought her around with me, and gave her a little sneak peek of what it's like, and she was surprised. She said, wow, this isn't at all like what I thought it would be like. You really need to work. I said, yeah, it's not that pretty, actually. Anyway, some parts of it, but absolutely, I would definitely help somebody. So just email me, tell me I saw you on Penny's blog and I want to talk to you.
And the other thing is, I'll also put in the bottom of the notes is the address to Terra Firma. Wait, what's the website? I should know it by heart by now. terrafirmadesign.ca.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. And Instagram is terrafirmadesign_Lisa.
Yes, follow Lisa on Instagram. She's got all kinds of cool stuff going on there. You've got lots of great projects. Thanks again, Lisa, for coming on and sharing with us and giving us a little bit of an insight what it's like being a designer and how to get started if you want to become a designer. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And by the way, I'm quite jealous by your backdrop compared to my backdrop. I'm going to bring you in to work on mine, okay?
You can hire me. How's that?
Okay, well, take care and have a great week.
You too. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Ladies in Biz. Send us your comments on ladiesinbiz.com. We would like to hear from you.